so I'll do the best I can with it.
Certificate will give you for being one time mayor of the day. Okay. And then they'll probably take some pictures. Yeah. I bet you never thought you'd be in this day. No. So I'm gonna let you sit here so you can do that. And then you talk in there nice and loud. He says we're on. You guys hear me okay? All righty, very good. Thank you all for coming out. We have a special guest to kick off our meeting. We've got Laura Nichols. Laura is homeschooled. She's a 10th grader, and she also attends Gordon Cooper Technology Center. As we can see, we've got a bunch of them in here tonight. That's awesome. Her parents are Jamie and Jesse Nichols. And with that, I'm going to let her take it over. There you go. All yours, lady.
Okay. I call this meeting to order.
There you go. Good stuff. That's yours. Get the whole grant. Thank you so much. Thank you. We got lots of kids here today. Okay, so we will call the roll.
Matthews.
Here.
Ingalls.
Here.
Flood. Bolt.
Here.
Rutherford.
Here.
Seahorn.
Here.
Salter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Invocation, you want to do that for us?
Sure.
All right, thank you, sir.
Let's pray. Lord, we love you. We thank you for our amazing community and the people that make it amazing. Lord, we ask that you be with us tonight, give us wisdom. God, help us to celebrate the accomplishments, God, to wrestle with the tough decisions. God, that we can come to the conclusions and things that help our city go forward. God, in all we do, may we give you the praise and glory. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. All right, do our flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Item 1 is a presentation of a certificate of recognition to Gordon Cooper Technology Center Robotics team. So if you guys will meet me up here by the podium, we will do that. Got a whole stack of these tonight. But you guys just spread out across here and face the crowd. I don't think you guys could sneak up on anybody. Let's get more down. Passing those out. And I'll hang on to one at the end and read it to everybody so they know what we got here. There we go. There we go. We got one back there. Thank you, sir. There we go. One for the mayor. Here. There. There. Here. So you guys remember what that? Okay, that's it. Oh, I know it is. Yeah, listen, talking, right. And then there's probably some folks that aren't here. Yes. But we'll make sure that we get, I want to read that there so everybody knows what it is. I can open it up. Okay, we've got a certificate of recognition on the 16th day of May, 2022. Gordon Cooper Technology Center Robotics team on behalf of the city of Shawnee to acknowledge the Sprockets receipt of the Championship Engineering Inspiration Award. And I have signed that, and our city clerk, Lisa Laciones, has signed that. So if you remember, we had this group in, oh gosh, when were you guys in Houston? How long ago was that? A couple weeks, 3 weeks, something like that? So at that point, they had really done well in this competition down here in your regional thing. I think you had like 44 teams in from like 6 states, if I remember right. And they got chosen to go down to the world competition, which is really cool. And NASA paid your way down there, right? Paid your entry fee. How cool is that? And so you guys were down there. You weren't able to be here the night that we recognized you for that accomplishment. Mr. Ferris was here to represent you, and for the most part, he stayed out of trouble for the most part. And anyway, while you guys were down there, you win this award, and I'm not going to get the name right unless I read it, Championship Engineering Inspiration Award. So checking into that, and this competition is against teams from all over the world. How many teams were down there?
Thousands.
500 or
Yeah.
more.
I mean, there was a bunch, and they were from like literally all over the world. And this is the second highest award. So that is amazing, because you guys go up against teams that have engineers helping them out that are from NASA and GM and I mean all real well-known companies that have amazing engineers working for them. And here we are in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and we go toe-to-toe with the world, and we just stand right up there with them, don't we? So that is really, really cool. I will give you the rest of these. Is there anything any of you would like to say?
I would just like to say thank you to everyone in the city of Shawnee who has ever supported us in Gordon Cooper Technology Center. And we hope that one day maybe we can make an impact in you or your kids' lives with the STEM camps that we hold with our robotics team out of Gordon Cooper Technology Center. So
That's
thank
awesome.
you.
Did you get, that's pretty good. Any parents want to get photographs, I mean, come right up here and get a good one. I'm a photographer, and if you don't get the right spot, it's not as good. So it's kind of like real estate. It's location, location, location. And I'll get on the end. And we won't leave. Anybody wants to do this, we're going to make them stay up there until we get the photos. I'm not going to tell them off if we get photos. Everybody get one? Yeah. All right, very good. Congratulations. You guys did awesome.
Thank you.
In addition to those, give this to the school. cool is this? Oh, wow. Yeah. So I want to get that where everybody can see it. You guys want to get a picture with this? Yes. Come on back up. This is worth doing. Come up here and spread out, make sure everybody can somebody in the middle. There we go. There we go. And I'll get out of your way. I should probably turn this around. Oh, again?
Hang on.
Good job, everybody.
Got one more.
What are we holding on for?
She was trying to get a picture.
Item 2, citizens' participation. So same rules as always, 3 minutes per person, 12 minutes per topic. We probably aren't going to respond to you till maybe in commissioners' comments. You may hear something there, but our city attorney will be the timekeeper, and if you get to your 3-minute limit, he will be sending you a signal there and ask you to wrap up very quickly. First on my list here is Rob Morris. So, Mr. Morris, the microphone is yours. How are you tonight?
So anybody worries, y'all aren't that lucky I'm not sick. Tonight, I actually have one thing. I got to talk to the Attorney General the other day. I'm going to play you the 2-minute question that I asked him. And then, like everybody else, you'll have to wait till after the meeting so that all of Shawnee can find out his answer. Mr. Attorney General, I got something simple for you. You actually have something that makes you a lot more special, and nothing against Ms. Rowland or any other candidate, that you actually do that makes you more special than them. Because right now you are the Attorney General. So instead of me asking people what will you do, what would you do in the future, I'm going to ask you what can you do right now. Okay? With your position, I also understand that when people give you something, you're duty bound by law to report it or to at least look into it to find out if a law is being broken or not. So I'm going to give you some things tonight. That what are you going to do between now and, say, November with county commissioners that want to give a $25,000 party to a fictitious 30-year anniversary? What are you going to do with city commissioners and county commissioners that have executive sessions where Oklahoma law specifically says 311B, or sorry, 311D, where it says the appraisal of purchase of real property, you can't have anybody that's indirectly or directly could benefit from it in the room. Right. City of Shawnee, county commissioners, and another committee that actually had a quorum and no meeting sat in a room that after they did, because I brought it up, I'm the reason the county commissioners in Pot County took public comments off the table. Granted, I understand that that's perfectly legal to do. There's no actual rule that says public comments are supposed to be there. However, they did because I called out that they broke the law. Same thing I do with the city commission here. City commissioners that don't even live in city limits, let alone in their ward. A mayor that says it's no big deal that somebody rents a property for him because they don't pay him. However, the parent company pays him, which means as long as the rent gets paid, well, he's not going to kick him out. He's going to make sure that Blue Zones around here gets everything. So that'd be something to look in. So to the question is, what can you do now about issues that face all of us in Shawnee as well as Pot County now? I will clarify one thing. I should have said didn't live because it's past tense now, and I should have said did pay since that building is not owned anymore. However, I would like to know who owns Leaning Tree LLC, because apparently they own the Blue Zones building, and that means you don't get to blow it on Blue Zones, period. With that, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Sarah, I'm going to say this wrong, Inselman?
I don't have anything at this time.
You don't? Okay, very good, but thank you. Next up is Joey Ward. How are you, sir?
All right, how are you?
Doing well.
Got some pictures I'd like to pass around.
Sure, absolutely.
The top one's my house with the container out there. I recently decided that I'm going to remove an unpermitted building from my property that's a safety hazard. So I decided the easiest way to accomplish this was to rent a 40-foot container to move the contents into so I could tear down the unsafe structure and clean up the back of my house, make the neighborhood a bit safer. Set 2 smaller storage buildings, move the contents from the container back into the storage buildings, and have the shipping container removed. However, I'm told by code enforcement that shipping containers, accessory buildings, pods, whatever you want to call them, are not allowed in Shawnee for residential or commercial use, with one exception for retail stores needing to stock seasonal overstock, like Walmart at Christmas time. I'd like to ask why we don't allow temporary storage in a pod or shipping container depending on the size of the lot. I asked for 90 days just to get this cleaned up and done, but was given 30. Although appreciated, it's not enough to complete it. So now I will have to buy 2 smaller portable storage buildings, which I was going to do anyways later, but I'm going to have to put them where I wasn't planning on putting them. I'm going to get that Connex cleaned out, that container cleaned out, and have it picked up. Go ahead and comply. It amazes me that we make it so hard for our citizens to improve the property and beautify the neighborhood. I was told by our building permit department that because we don't have engineering specs for snow loads and such on these containers, that they're a building code violation. The fact that a 40-foot container can legally hold 67,000 pounds of product and be stacked 8 high on a ship that is moving across the ocean tells me that you can have more than 500,000 pounds in one stack. Besides that, it's May. If a guy only needs temporary storage for 3 months, I don't believe snow load will be an issue. How come we don't allow temporary storage? And please don't give me a snow load answer. The city of Shawnee, or of Choctaw City, recently adopted a new ordinance making it available for people to put pods and containers on their property for 6 months with no permit needed. You just have to call, notify them, and let them know that you've got the container so they can start the clock. Choctaw is a thriving and growing community. I'd like to think that Shawnee would like to be in that group too. Then after making an issue on the container, I get a letter from code enforcement saying my grass is long. I have brush piles, a trailer illegally parked. I have an appeal notice on that. Do I have a couple brush piles? Yes. But in the last 5 weeks, I've cut down 6 trees that were 40 to 50 feet tall. And at the time of the notice, I had one pile that was about 10 feet around and 4 feet high, and one pile that was 6 feet round and about 3 feet tall. I think for a fat guy, I did pretty good in getting some of it out of there pretty quick. The notice on the grass was sent on May 5th. It was just cut on the 30th, and we had a major storm on the 3rd.
Mr. Ward, you've hit your 3 minutes. Thank you so much. Next is Stacy Ward.
I'm just returning my time for.
That's fine. There you go. That'll work.
Thank you. The 3rd was when Seminole was hit with a tornado and we had torrential rainfall. I needed more than 1 day for the grass to dry so I didn't tear up my lawnmower. I thought it was kind of ridiculous. I got to notice that quick. The trailer, a little 5x8 Lowe's utility trailer to haul a lawnmower on, was out on the side of my house. I think some of the powers to be mistake the side of my house for the front of my house because on Wayne, that's the side of my house. My house faces Draper. So, but anyways, I made sure I went ahead and moved the trailer just to make sure that they were happy. After recent, I wish that the code violation department would send something about the code violation to people whenever they get it. What is the ordinance for the thing that they're being accused of? I don't think that's asking too much. It's so they know in the future how to not break the rule, how to do it correctly, how to do it right. After recent experiences in dealing with the city, I'm not big on just taking someone's word for it. And if they're going to threaten fines and penalties, they have an obligation to make sure that you understand what's expected. I recently drove around town to look at the shipping container situation, and I stopped taking pictures at 13 containers just in 2 wards. and some of them you can tell has been there for a while. I believe there's an element of harassment that is either happening for one of two reasons. That's the city refused to do the right thing and fix my sewer that was damaged, and we went over a year without sewer and over 100 days without water in the height of fighting COVID in this country, just to find out you were wrong, and it took a plumber from Woodward to point it out. And we know how that came out. Or because of the fact that I won't put up with such nonsense as a commissioner serving the people of Shawnee. I thought we vote for commissioners to represent the people. This is the reason the people vote for them. I have only felt harassed and not represented, and I can't wait to be able to represent the people of Ward 5 and all of Shawnee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All righty, next up is Gary Tyser. I don't have a Mr. Nowlin signed up, I don't think. Let me see. No, I see Rick Young on the third page. He's here for public hearing. Okay, very good. Then that'll be later in the meeting, but thank you very much. Okay. Leslie Gilbert. Okay.
Okay, back again so soon. One thing to point out, you gave everybody a piece of paper tonight. I put an asterisk by the one that says you'll talk to us when I leave and before the next person comes up, not at the end. Says it right there in black and white on a piece of paper. A whole bunch of people already talked and nobody said anything. Next, the depot, almost 3 years now, a little less than that. I brought up, why don't we fix the roof out there? So did Commissioner Harrod at that time when he was still on the commission. So almost 3 years have gone by. No roof, no fix, no nothing. How much did we pay that company to go in and tell us all the water damage? How much did we pay them for that? Quite a bit of money, wasn't it? Thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, to find out that all they had to do was get on the roof and unclog a drain, and that satisfied a pretty big leak in that building that now we can seal the outside of the building and vision later. We don't need to vision first and then fix the building. We need to fix the building first and then decide what we want. And I don't want a restaurant, and I don't want a wedding venue. That's just that. Let's see. Public comments page. The homeless. We're feeding in Celebration Park, south of the library all the time. Why aren't we feeding in the library parking lot where it's wide open, where we can have easier places to pick up all the trash and our park doesn't get destroyed every time? Why haven't we done that? That seems pretty simple, just to put it on the north side of the building that it's next to now. The other possible reason. It's interesting how many people are buying up property around town right now under various LLCs and things like that. It really is. It's interesting how the homeless seem to congregate only downtown so that property values would tank. I mean, this is like old school stuff. It's weird, but there's a lot of things that point that way. There really is. So what are we going to do about the homeless to where there's some sort of, and I know there's an update tonight, but what are we going to do to figure out who feeds? Right now there is no list. It's just kind of willy-nilly however we do it. And they crawl all over and tear things up. We want to help the people that need the help, but the people that just want to abuse this town can take a hike. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see, have one left. Rick Young. I know I saw him back there. How you doing, Rick? Good to see you.
Hope I can give you guys a break. Not disrupt the proceedings, if you'll wait till after the
Thank you, sir.
committee comment, I appreciate it. Apologize for being a little bit late. I was dealing with Mr. Murphy this afternoon. Every time I appear before this council, I want to thank you guys for your service. I know you don't hear that a whole lot, but I know these without a whole lot of gratitude, and I appreciate what you're doing. It's a tough job. Sit back and just kind of listen. My brother's here. He's an official. I have another brother who's an official, and every night 50% of the crowd is mad at you. First off, I want to thank you again for just being able to publicly speak before the council. I want to give honor to a man who we lost 8 years ago, May 25th, 2014, who gave 12 years of public service to this body. He's set up to where you're sitting right now, and 40 years to Shawnee America in this community. As a man of God, and he was a part of the answer and not part of the problem. It was my dad, Carl E. Young. He's a husband, a father, grandfather. He's actually a Shawnee News Star Father of the Year. He's a Dunbar High School Hall of Famer in 2 sports. And most importantly, that I loved him so much was that he was a servant of God, and he also was a servant of the community. When I heard that he wanted to run for council for Shawnee, I was flabbergasted. I was actually shocked, like, what in the world? It kind of hit me like Saul to Paul situation, but in God's timing, as I've said all the time when I come before this council, everybody here tonight is supposed to be here. I ran back to the house because I didn't have the 6 envelopes prepared, and I got here and found out that my Ward 3 guy wasn't here, so I don't just believe in coincidence. The guy I work for, he does all kind of weird stuff at the last minute. One of the things is this: I am part of the legacy of Carl E. Young. So it's this young man over here, the Young legacy, to make Shawnee America the place to be and the place to raise a family. Now, you've probably heard, those of you that have followed me know that I've been talking about a tectonic paradigm shift that's taking place right now, and it's not of man, it is of God. Now, if you don't believe that, let's take a little travel across the river, and we'll conversate about some of those things that's going on in our community. Yes, we have troubles, we have some warts, we have some skeletons in the closet, but for such a time as this, we've been called to kind of answer some of those problems, and we're not the only people in this country from sea to shining sea that's going through some of the things that we're going through. And I believe that if we would look around and ask for help and people that want to contribute to the good of the whole, they're here. We just have to keep looking and keep digging for where they are and ask God to send them to us. Now, at the same time, we have been given, I believe, wholeheartedly, a reprieve challenge to continue to make Shawnee a good place and safe place to raise a family with great economic growth. I know we faced that tag, Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Is that 3?
Yep. Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you. Meet me at the comma.
There you go. All righty. Item 3, consider approval of the consent agenda. Has anybody got anything to like pull off the consent agenda? If not, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Darren and Cammy. Okay, motion and second to approve item 3. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 4, presentation by Animal Control to present Pet of the Week. I think I saw a dog out there. How are you guys tonight?
Good. This is Zeus, and he's our pet of the week. He's about 2 years old, and we found out that he loves car rides, and he pretty much loves everybody he comes in contact with. At the shelter right now, we have 29 dogs and 6 cats. We've had 5 adoptions this month, and we've had 2 reclaimed.
Very good.
And his adoption fee, since he is spayed, would be $5, and if you live in city limits, a $5 city tag.
Very good. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. You have a great night.
Okay, item 5, we've got a mayor's proclamation for Avitas Foundation Health Week. So come down front. How are you guys?
Is it going to be home?
On a crowd tonight. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good.
You can put some on this side.
Got a big bird. Get everybody? All right, so Vitas Foundation Health Week, whereas the week of May 21st to 27th, 2022 is the Vitas Foundation Health Week, which celebrates healthy, fun, and fitness activities for the whole family throughout our community. And whereas the Vitas Foundation and its Health Week partners, Shawnee Parks and Recreation, Blue Zones Project, SSM Health, Shawnee YMCA, Gateway to Prevention, Shawnee Youth Coalition are committed to improving the health, wellness, and quality of life for the people of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, and its surrounding communities. And whereas our actions, including good nutrition and physical activity, impact the health and well-being of our families, friends, and neighbors. And whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas eating more balanced meals and snacks can positively impact health outcomes for kids and their families, and whereas physical activity results in significant health benefits and improved quality of life for people of all ages, and whereas dedicating a week to wellness inspires lifelong patterns of healthy living and improves the quality life in our community. And whereas the city of Shawnee encourages everyone who lives, works, and plays in Shawnee to participate in family-friendly activities through this citywide celebration of health and wellness of its community members. Now therefore, I, Ed Bolt, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim May 21st through 27th, 2022 to be Vitas Foundation Health Week. So I'll give this to you, Kathy, and I'll give you some time. Do you want to talk about Health Week or anything you guys would like to talk about? Well, we need to get you in here. We can get someone to do the photo.
Yeah, Audrey.
There we go. We want
Audrey, why
in
don't
the
you,
photo.
why don't you take the, tell them about health.
Please join us as we kick off Saturday at the YMCA with Mike Jove and his crew. And we have activities all week long. They're on social media, they're on our website, and they're in print media. And we would love to have you join us Friday for our speaker event at Life Church at 10 a.m. if you can. But everything in between is going to be great, great fun.
Dr. Krishna is wonderful to listen to. I really encourage you to come 10 to 12. You'll hear a little bit more about some of the city's plans. And I also want to thank the city for all the work they've been doing on the sidewalks to make it easier for people to walk in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good seeing you guys.
Okay, item 6 is presentation of the City of Shawnee proposed budget for fiscal year 2022 to 2023. And our city manager, Andrea.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. How are you this evening?
Well, how are you?
I'm doing great. We have a presentation, and I am pleased to present to you and the citizens of Shawnee our proposed 2022-23 budget. The proposed budget was developed for our next fiscal year, and it will start on July 1st and run through June 30, 2023. Budget overview will demonstrate the city's use of deliberate planning and priority setting to 1, build financial resiliency, 2, improve the quality of life, and 3, create some sustainable growth for our community. The budget makes optimal use of the available resources and includes all of those expenditures required for maintenance and operation activities, as well as select capital improvements, all of which support, of course, the core delivery of our city services. As I'm stepping through this presentation, it is less about numbers this evening. It is more about some of the peculiarities of municipal budgeting overall. As you know, the City of Shawnee encompasses a general government component as well as two public trusts, and specifically those are the Shawnee Municipal Authority and the Shawnee Airport Authority. The city and its trusts operate under an annual budget in accordance with, of course, our municipal code, section 2-96, which specifically states that the city manager shall prepare annually a complete financial plan for the ensuing year and shall be responsible for the administration of such plan when adopted by the City Commission. In turn, our municipal code is compliant with the Oklahoma statutes, Title 11, Chapter 1, Section 17. In general, all appropriations lapse at the end of the year. Appropriations for capital projects may be exempted and then carried over to the next year or following years until those project-specific funds are expended or the project has been abandoned. The appropriated budget is adopted at the fund level and prepared by fund and department. And just to give you a sneak peek of how difficult that is, we are working with 23 funds across all city departments, albeit not all of the departments pull from all of these different funds. It gets complicated very quickly. As such, we've been working very diligently on the budget preparation, and there are two aspects of the budget development I would really like to highlight. First of all, the budget was developed with all of the departments. This is not something that just the finance department or the city manager's office pulled together. The budget development was also guided by the budgeting and financial policies that you as the city commission put in place in March of this year. And those policies specifically set the framework. The city will not borrow from any external sources for ongoing operations. That includes operations as well as personnel cost. Any excess funding balances should also not be used for ongoing operations, but may be budgeted for one-time capital expenditures. Each city fund should include a contingency reserve of 2%, and that is something brand new, something we had never done before. And those 2% will cover operating contingencies as necessary. And then the general fund must maintain operating reserves of 14% up to 20%, just in case there is a funding shortfall. That equates to about 2 months worth of operations. Other funds that also support personnel and ongoing operations can have an operating reserve between 5 and 20%. It is important to mention that we are working in collaboration with all of the city departments. The identification of the funding needs is not something that the finance department or the city manager's office could have done alone, but it was through the joint review with each one of the departments that we ascertained what is core functionality and what are core capital needs. The departments were also instrumental in identifying additional pressing capital needs, because we really wanted to make sure that as we move forward with capital improvement planning, that we understand what the city will need over the next few years. The second phase of the budget development, city manager's office and the finance department looked at all of the tax receipts and other revenue receipts for the last several years and evaluated their performance. Ultimately, what we ended up doing was project out revenues very conservatively based on the 3 most recent years of average receipts, because that seemed to be the most conservative and justifiable approach. The third phase of the budget development saw operating and core capital needs balanced against estimated revenues, and that is really the hard part. Core needs took precedence. We do have certain city services that we must provide. We also want to make sure that we cover all of our personnel costs and supply costs that are necessary for those core services. In addition to that, we received multiple position requests, albeit we had to set those aside for a moment because we needed to make sure that we have enough recurring funding to cover those. Overall, this is a position-neutral budget. We did create one position, but only because another position within that particular department was eliminated. All in all, we're encumbering about 75% of the general fund for personnel cost, 18% of the Shawnee Municipal Authority for personnel cost, and 28% for the Shawnee Airport Authority, again, all for personnel cost. The remainder is available for capital projects. At 281 full-time equivalent positions, we are running a skeleton crew. When you compare us to other peer entities, we are somewhat understaffed. We are still providing the same level of service that other cities do, just with a smaller staff. All of the other position requests that had been put forward are on hold until we can find a new recurring revenue source, just simply because we cannot fund these position requests with one-time or time-limited budget. And that brings me to this next slide. The municipal budget actually deals in multiple different revenue sources, but they can be largely grouped into 3 different types. One of those is recurring, the other one periodic, and then we have a lot of one-time funding sources. Recurring revenues can reasonably be assumed to be available every single year, and those are our sales tax and use tax, our water, sewer, garbage service charges, and fees for licenses, permits, rental, or interest income. Again, those are reasonably assumed to be available every year, and even with those, we've seen some fluctuations over the past few years. In the proposed budget, across all funds and all departments, these recurring revenues account for approximately 40% of our total budget. 40%. The city also has access to periodic revenues, which are tied to certain time periods or certain eligibility requirements. In terms of time periods, you may remember that we have a 2018 passed half-cent sales tax, which will sunset in 2028. We also have a downtown tax increment financing district, which also has a sunset date. When we're talking about eligibility requirements for these periodic revenue sources, the first one that comes to mind is our Community Development Block Grant Fund, which is tied to household income and population numbers. All of these periodic funds, which are available to us for a certain time or based on certain eligibility requirements, account for approximately 4% of our annual budget. And then comes the large portion of one-time revenues. The city has been very successful in gaining access to these one-time revenues. Those are fund balance, special disbursements, project-specific loans we've received, grant applications, or donations. The one-time revenues account for over 55% of our annual budget. Once spent, these revenues will not automatically renew, which means that once we spend our ARPA money, once we spend our Oklahoma Water Resources Board loans, those revenues are gone, and our budget, overall operating budget, will shrink significantly. There is one more peculiar aspect to municipal budgeting that I would like to call attention to before we get into some of the general fund numbers. Per an Oklahoma statute, money can be transferred from one fund to another. These inter-fund transfers show up as an expenditure in one fund and then as a revenue in another fund. And as you can see from the graphic that is included, it actually causes that revenue and those expenditures to be double counted. Mm-hmm. Overall, our budget has a relatively low number of inter-fund transfers, but 7.7 million is something that we have in our budget in terms of inter-fund transfers. So again, when you're talking about cash in hand, or so-called cash in hand, you have to not include that amount in what you think of the budget for the city being available. I am using the general fund as a proxy. It would take entirely too long to go through each one of those budgets, each one of the funds and each one of the departments, and I know that we already have scheduled of course, the detailed budget presentation for the June 6th City Commission meeting, which also includes the public hearing on our draft budget. So bear with me as I'm just stepping through the general fund this evening just to give everybody an idea of the information that we have out there for everybody to look at. The fiscal year 2022-23 general budget continues the path set by the two preceding years. Revenues, like I said earlier, were again estimated conservatively and represent only a 1.5% growth over the current year budget. This modest growth embodies the average in annual tax receipts. So even though our tax receipts came in way above projections, when you're looking at the actual tax receipts over the last 3 years, there was not a 17% increase. It's literally just been a 1.5% increase. As you can see from the chart in the slide, the majority of the general fund revenues stem from taxes, about a little over 73%. And then another 20% of the anticipated funds for the general fund come from those intra-fund transfers. All revenues combined make up approximately $30.1 million in comparison to the $26.4 million in expenditures. The contingency reserve is built into that, and the remainder is the 14% operating reserves that we have put in place with our policies. What that looks like on the expenditure side, again, I'm using the general fund as the proxy here. We have this graph, which also was taken out of our online budget book. It shows the magnitude of expenditures by department, in some cases grouped. It is important to remember when you look at police department and the 9-point-some million, it actually has multiple divisions. It includes the police patrol, criminal investigation, dispatch, police administration, and animal welfare. The police department represents a large expenditure for our general fund. So does the fire department, where there is a fire suppression administration and fire training included. The culture and recreation grouping includes parks, municipal auditorium, community center, senior center, and the expo center. And then, of course, public works is streets, traffic control, and cemetery maintenance. Internal services comprised of IT and building maintenance, and then the last of the groups is engineering, finance, city clerk, human resources, and emergency management. All of these graphs are available for each one of the funds shown, not just for the general fund, not just for the Shawnee Municipal Authority or the Shawnee Airport Authority, but for all of the other 20 funds that make up our budget. I would like to invite everyone to go check out the online budget book where all of this information is contained. I would also like to call attention to the budget message, which specifically lists out our larger capital improvement projects. There is a lot of information on the OpenGov site, and we wanted to make sure that we make it as easy as possible. And as part of the agenda item this evening, there was also a guide that spoke of the interactivity of the OpenGov site. With that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Again, municipal budgeting is a little peculiar with some of the things that we're dealing with, and it makes it a little more difficult to understand. But I'm hoping that this is helpful to the commission as well as the public.
Has anybody got questions? How about down this end? Good, buddy. You got anything, Benny? You're good? Nope, I think you explained it well. Thank you so much. Appreciate all the hard work on that. All righty, item 7, consideration of an addendum to the agreement for administration of the sales tax resolution for the city of Shawnee with Oklahoma Tax Commission. And Mr. Bussell, how are you, sir?
Doing well, sir. Mayor and Commissioners, on March 7th, 2022, the Commission approved a resolution to authorize the City Manager in coordination with the OTC to prepare an agreement provided for the OTC to serve as the collection agency for the city of Shawnee for our occupancy surcharge. And that agreement has come about. It's actually an addendum to the original agreement that they already do for us for the sales and use tax. And if you have any questions concerning the addendum that was in the packet, be happy to answer them.
Got any questions? Let's see, and I think this was just kind of a housekeeping
It
item
is.
from last month.
Yes, they're going to take over collections.
Yeah. All righty. I don't see any questions. Anybody got anyone got a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. Thank you, sir. Mark. And Darren. All righty, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 7. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 8, consideration of an ordinance of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, amending Chapter 5, Animals, Section 5 through 7, keeping fowl of the city code, regulating the keeping of fowl and chickens for personal use within city limits, and also providing for severability, codification, and repealer. Mr. Barkheimer, how are you, sir?
Pretty good. How about you?
Great.
Mayor, Commissioners. So this item, kind of like the last one, was very much housekeeping. I think you'll have a couple of these ordinances in front of you in the coming months as we try to clean up our fee schedule a little bit. The current code has a fee outlined within the actual ordinance, and we'd like to remove that and put it within the city fee schedule. So we're not actually changing the fee, we're just removing it from the actual ordinance and putting it within the fee schedule. And then secondly, the current code has the planning department outlined as the responsible party, and we'd like to replace that with the permitting office, so it's more accurate to how we're currently operating. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
I've got questions. Like pretty simple things, seems to make sense. Anyone want to make a motion?
Move to approve item 8.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Thank you, ma'am. All righty, we have a motion and a second to approve item 8. We will call the question. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. You're up.
An ordinance of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, amending Chapter 5, Animals, Section 5 through 7, keeping fowl of the city code, regulating the keeping of fowl and chickens for personal use within city limits, and also providing for severability, codification, and repealer.
All righty. Now we will call the question. Thank you, sir. Motion passes 6-0. Item 9, consideration of resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, relating to Chapter 5, Animals of the City Code, and providing for the readoption of the city fee schedule in whole. And Seth, are you back up, or? I'm sure this is just following up on what we
Yes,
just
sir, it just
did.
follows the last item. This is the adoption of the resolution that establishes the fee that we removed from the last ordinance.
Okay,
So-
very good. Anyone got any questions, or good? How about a motion?
Move to approve item 9.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
All right, was that Mark? All righty, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, relating to Chapter 5, keeping fowl of the city code and providing for the readoption of the city fee schedule in whole.
All right, thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second. We will call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 10 is a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 33909 Lake Road from A1 Agricultural, Rural Agricultural District to RE Residential Estates District, case number RZ05-22. Applicant Gerald and Linda Nowlin. And Mr. Harkins, oh, nope, it isn't Mr. Harkins. Or his hair changed. Just a little. How are you?
I'm doing well. Mayor, Commissioners, Rachel Klein, City Planner. Happy to stand in when Mr. Harkins isn't available. This request is for property located at 33909 Lake Road and is currently undeveloped. It's approximately 20.85 acres, and for general location, it's west of the dollar store that's at the Lake Road and Highway 102 intersection. The request is to rezone from A1, our rural agricultural district, to RD, our residential estates district. The future land use map has the area as agricultural and open uses. To the east, all three of the corners of the intersection, however, have a future land use designation of lake-oriented commercial. Based upon that, staff feels that this zoning district is with the intent of the comprehensive plan regarding the potential growth in this part of the community. The one thing about RE, the residential estates districts, if it is to be subdivided, they must be 1 acre lots at least. Planning Commission heard this case on May the 4th, and the planning staff does recommend approval of case RZ 0522 based upon the factors outlined in the staff report and from the recommendation of the Planning Commission. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions right now? Let's see, and I think what we'll do is we'll open the public hearing and see if there's anybody here to speak in favor. If anyone would like to speak in favor, come on down, sir, if you would, please. Use the microphone. We'll wait on you. How are you?
Fine.
Good. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
All yours.
Well, I own the property there,
Okay.
and we're just asking the city of Shawnee if we can get that rezoned for, some housing in that area, which it's going to, we feel, be developed in the years to come, all through there. But we just, bringing it for the commission to.
Okay. You don't have plans right now, I guess, from what I gather from what you said. It doesn't sound like you have plans like right now then.
Well, we don't have any definite plans.
Right. Okay.
But plan on maybe putting a few houses in there.
Sure. Okay.
And they would be, nothing shabby, nothing huge, right somewhere around 2,000 square feet.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for him while we got him? No? Very good. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Come on down. How are you, sir?
Great. How are y'all tonight? Hey, thanks for listening to me. I'm a person who lives down the road from Mr. Nowlin. I've got a few questions I want to throw to him. The owner of the land doesn't live there. I do. If houses are going to be built on lots, how is it going to affect me? To affect me, is water well? Is it going to be like that? Or is it going to be city water? Stormwater runoff? It's always a problem. Tom Brown couldn't handle it. That's going to be really problem out there. Who will be responsible for the roads? Is it going to be asphalt, concrete, dirt, gravel?
Sir, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to clarify one thing. Are you here to speak in favor or in opposition?
Opposition.
Okay,
right now.
we haven't called that yet, so hold those thoughts. In fact, just stay right there, because was there anyone else that wanted to speak in favor? Okay, seeing none, then we're going to move on to those who want to speak in opposition, so I'm going to let you just take it right back up. There you go. I just want to make sure we were all clear on what was going on.
I'm almost done. I got
No, you're good. You're good. I just want to make sure we're going about it the right way. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know who's going to be responsible for the roads. And he's going to have robotic where that spray comes out of the sewer. I'm not really happy with that, since everything, he lives higher than I do. I live down. Everything comes down on me. Other than that, everything's great.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All righty. Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? All right. Seeing nobody, we will close the public hearing.
Mayor?
Yes.
Could I speak just for a minute?
Well,
on that, what he spoke of in the sewer?
Yes, as long as the public hearing is open.
Yes, sir. Come on up. Come on up.
My wife and I have lived and raised a family in Bethel. We live a couple of miles from the area that we're talking about here. I've lived in this housing addition for 43 years. We're downhill. We're one of 4 houses on the end. It's downhill. 43 years. We've never had a problem. And nobody that I know of with their sewer, with contamination of the water. And it's just, that's just the way it is. It's, okay.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, then we will close the public hearing and move on to discussion. Anybody got any, if we've got questions, I imagine we can ask staff.
Correct.
I have, since I'm sorry, my mind's blanking on the gentleman's name who's brought this forward.
Mr. Nowlin.
Mr. Nowlin.
Yes, since he currently has no plans to develop specifically, I feel like some of the issues that are being brought up in opposition may be handled by our new codes, our updated codes that would be probably the development codes that we will be updating by the time something were to come about. Some of those issues could be handled before construction began.
At this point in time, it is just, and Rachel can answer that too.
The codes that we have currently would address any of those concerns.
Right.
Our subdivision regulations would make sure that the streets were built to code, that stormwater is taken care of during construction of the entire subdivision if divided. Again, this is just a request for the rezoning. The Nowlins have thought about it, I'm sure, but until this is approved, if it is, I don't think they're ready to make a statement that they're going to do anything, but they definitely wanted the RE to make sure 1 or 1+ acres per lot.
And RE also does not allow for trailer parks. It's
Correct.
simply
It's for single-family homes only, acre or larger lots.
Right. So a lot of the concern would be addressed whenever the development is proposed by staff.
Yes, it would go through staff review with several departments. If it was approved, it would go then before the planning commission as a subdivision to you guys preliminarily, then back to the planning commission and back here, and then the work takes place, inspections throughout that process, and then the final approvals of infrastructure brought again to you guys. So there's quite a few steps necessary between now and then if they elect to move forward with subdividing.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other discussion up here? Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the rezone.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Daniel and Mark. All righty. So that motion a second. So you've got a lot to read.
This is the easy one.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, to wit, the east 30 acres of the north half of the northeast quarter of section 23, township 10 north, range 2 east of the Indian Meridian, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, and further described by Charles Reed on May 30th, 2021, as commencing at the northeast corner of the northeast quarter of said section 23, thence south 89 degrees 35 minutes 5 seconds west along the north line of said north half of northeast quarter a distance of 300 feet to the point of beginning, thence south 0 degrees 27 minutes 57 seconds east, a distance of 1,317.73 feet to a point on the south line of said south half of northeast quarter, thence south 89 degrees 30 minutes 21 seconds west along said south line, a distance of 688.86 feet, thence north 0 degrees 29 minutes 49 seconds west, a distance of 1,318.68 feet to a point on the north line of said north half of northeast quarter, thence north 89 degrees 35 minutes 5 seconds east along said north line, a distance of 689.58 feet to the point of beginning, from zoning classification A1 Rural Agricultural District to RE Residential Estates District, amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 10. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 11 is a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at approximately 8.79 acres north of West MacArthur Street and east of Acme Road from R3 multifamily residential district and C2 suburban office commercial district to a PUD planned unit development, case number PUD 01-22, applicant J. Bentley Investments LLC, represented by Grubbs Consulting LLC. So Rachel's up again.
I'm sorry you had to read all of that, Mayor, Commissioners. The applicant requested from staff for the public hearing to be deferred to the next Planning Commission meeting, which would be June 1st, which, if deferred, would bring it back to you guys, the the City Commission meeting on June the 20th, 2022. And unfortunately, notification had already taken place, and they requested after.
Okay.
So
your recommendation to us then is
Yes.
defer to a future meeting?
staff and the
then?
Planning Commission have recommended that the City Commission defer
Okay.
to June 1, 2022 Planning Commission.
Okay. All right. Make sure we got a question down there. Get it. Okay. Anyone like to make a motion that we defer to future meeting?
I'll make a motion we defer to a future meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to defer item 11 to a future meeting. We'll call the question. You get off the hook there, Joe.
I did. Just a delay.
Yeah, there you go. Item 12, public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 1717 East Remington Street.
Point of order.
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
The results of the voting.
Oh, it passed 6-0. I am so sorry. Item 12 is a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 1717 East Remington Street from R1 Single Family Residential District to R1 Single Family Residential District with a conditional use permit, CUP, case number CUP 03-22, applicants Stephen and Gloria Barnett, deferred from April 18, 2022 City Commission meeting. You're up again.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. This subject property is located at 1717 East Remington Street. It's approximately 2.68 acres, and there's an existing single-family detached residence at that location. The request before you right now is for a conditional use permit to allow an accessory dwelling unit, or an ADU, on that property in accordance with the conditions. This application corresponds with our next case, RZ 0622. For this particular conditional use permit request, to be approved, if approved, would be contingent upon the subsequent approval of the associated rezoning application. And that's because rezoning is one of the criteria for approval for the accessory dwelling unit. On your staff report, there is a lengthy 16-item conditions required for approval. The bottom one is what I just referenced, which is the rezone. planning staff does recommend approval of case number CUP 0322 based upon the factors outlined in the staff report and the recommendation from the Planning Commission with the following conditions listed. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody got questions? Not seeing any at this time. So with that, we will open the public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to speak in favor of this? Come on up, sir. Microphone's all yours. If you would, let us know who you are.
I'm Stephen Barrett. I own the property.
Okay.
What we're doing is building a shop. It's approximately 2,000 square feet. 800 square feet of that would be a living area. It would be 2-bedroom, 1.5 bathrooms. And it's just for if people come to visit or anything like that. And then the rest of it would be my personal shop. And if you guys have any questions, I can answer any of them.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Barrett? No, I don't think so. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Not seeing any, we will close the public hearing and see what discussion we have up here. Anybody got anything?
Shop with living quarters.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yep. Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Thank
I'll
you, sir.
second.
Mark and Cammie. All right, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, to wit, a tract of land described as beginning at the northeast corner of Lot 20, Remington Beard addition to the city of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, according to the recorded plat thereof, thence west 500 feet, thence south 232.50 feet, thence east 500 feet, thence north 232.50 feet to the point of beginning, from zoning classification R1 Single Family Residential District to R1 Single Family Residential District with a conditional use permit and amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 12. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 13 is another public hearing in consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 1717 East Remington Street from R1 Single Family Residential District to R2 Medium Density Residential District, case number RZ06-22, applicant Stephen and Gloria Barnett. So I'm assuming this is just following through on what we just did.
Yes, sir. I'll go ahead and give you the scoop.
All righty.
Hello again. And this is for 1717 East Remington Street. It's for rezoning from R1, which is single family residential, to R2, which is medium density residential. As you stated, this application corresponds with the just heard CUP 0322. Approval of this rezoning is one condition of approval for the accessory dwelling unit of the case we just heard. Shawnee's zoning code does not allow accessory dwelling units to be located in R1 zoning district. It does allow ADUs in A1, R2, and R3. So to ensure compliance, the property owners applied to rezone. On April the 6th, the Planning Commission was presented with the conditional use permit application. That application was deferred to the May 4th Planning Commission meeting to allow the accompaniment of the rezoning application. So the comprehensive future land use map we always like to look at. Surrounding the subject property, we actually have high, medium, and low density residential. All three of these densities are either part of or touching the subject property, and the R2, which is proposed, is allowed as a district and staying within the intent of the comprehensive plan. The reason that staff recommended for R2 is to limit future uses that would be allowed on the property. An accessory dwelling unit can be constructed as an accessory structure to a single-family residence with approval. The R2 zoning district allows this use. It's the most restrictive zoning district that will allow an accessory dwelling unit. Based upon that information and the factors also outlined in the staff report, planning staff and the planning commission have recommended approval of case number RZ0622 for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody got any questions? Don't think so. With that, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor? And you don't have to come talk again. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Does anyone like to speak in opposition? And not seeing any, then we will close the public hearing. Move on to discussion here. Anybody got anything up here, or anyone got a motion?
Move to approve item 13.
Thank you, sir. Have a motion. Anyone have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, you're up one more time, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, to wit, a tract of land described as beginning at the northeast corner of Lot 20, Remington Beard addition to the city of Shawnee, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, according to the recorded plat thereof, thence west 500 feet, thence south 232.50 feet, thence east 500 feet, thence north 232.50 feet, to the point of beginning from zoning classification R1, single-family residential district, to R2, medium-density residential district, amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Thank you, sir. All righty, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 13. We'll call that question. And motion passes 6-0. Item 14, acknowledge monthly sales tax and budget reports. Jacob's up. And he's going to have good news, right? Good news.
Mayor and Commissioners, sales tax came in well for the month of May. Sales tax came in just slightly below May of 2021, which is good. In comparing fiscal year 21 and fiscal year 22, we are currently 6.55% above prior year. And for use tax, we are holding above prior year actuals as well, holding at about 25% above prior year. And as far as the expenditures go, we are within budget for our major funds. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anyone got questions? No? Keep bringing good news.
He's our hero.
Really? Thank you very much. All righty, that gets us to item 15. We've got some administrative reports. So first up is Erica Ginty, and the Homeless Program Coordinator. So Erica, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Mr. Mayor Commission, I'm Erica Ginty, the Homeless Program Coordinator for the city. I'm coming to bring you an update on our homeless program. First, I wanted to outline what some of our homeless program goals are. We want to develop a cohesive response to homelessness. We want to meet the needs of the homeless population, address visible homelessness in downtown, help return the downtown area to its intended purposes, and educate the public about homelessness. I am meeting with business owners weekly to ascertain how homelessness is affecting them, explaining what we're doing as a city, and seeing how we can collaborate together to solve this problem. I also am in the process of scheduling community meetings where people can come and learn about homelessness, again, learn about what the city is doing and how they can be a part of solving the problem. I've had several speaking engagements at churches and other organizations, and my upcoming speaking engagement is with the Board of Realtors in July. Sanitation and hygiene. Many people wonder why so many homeless people congregate down at the library. It's the only public restroom in the city. So, to that end, we installed some porta potties. We have 5 of them located in 3 different areas. 1 at the Shawnee Rescue Mission, 1 at Community Market, and 3 at 7th and Philadelphia, just south of the library. We also just took delivery of a shower trailer, which was placed at the Shawnee Rescue Mission. It's a 24-foot shower trailer with 3 showers. Both those and the porta potties are leased through the end of August. We also have a laundry service available. We've collaborated with Generations Church and Suds Bucket Laundry, where people can come on Wednesdays, drop off their laundry. They take it up there, launder it, and come back on Fridays and pick up their laundry again. This meets a major need in our city. The Shawnee Homeless Outreach Program, we call it SHOP. The purpose of that is to identify individuals that are experiencing homelessness, build relationships with them, ascertain what their needs are, and get them into our system so that we can meet those needs. We go out at least once a week doing street outreach, where we go out and we meet them where they are. We find out what their needs are, what holes there are in our services. For example, we found that people couldn't afford their copays for medication. So we collaborated with Harrison Discount Pharmacy to cover those costs so they can get their medication. We go out, we gather information, we enter it into the HMIS, it's the Homeless Management Information System, and also into the Built for Zero by name list. Homelessness in Shawnee Roundtable. This is a group comprised of organizations that serve the homeless population in our city. The whole idea is to harness the collaborative power of these organizations so that we can create a coordinated response to homelessness. We identify and fill holes in needs, and we discuss individual cases and come up with solutions for those. We meet monthly. We've had 2 meetings so far. Our next meeting is coming up on June 3rd. We've discussed how homeless policies around the nation are affecting Shawnee. We've discussed success stories, current projects, and upcoming needs. By harnessing this collective power, we are decreasing a duplication of efforts, which are often ineffective. And having organizations only provide 1 or 2 services, they're able to be more effective. Social media, in this day and age, that's a pretty big thing. So, weekly, I update Facebook with information about our homeless program. Including a series that we're running, Homeless Mythbusters, where we tackle 1 myth a month, or 1 myth, I'm into months today, 1 myth a week about homelessness. We also are going to be starting a Get to Know Me series where we will spotlight a homeless individual from our community so that we can get to know them. In addition, we update the City of Shawnee homeless page regularly. My new interns are going to be assisting me with this, so that's going to be exciting. Built for Zero is an initiative that over 90 communities in this country are undertaking in order to erase homelessness in their community. We were fortunate to be able to become part of this. We are working on our by name list, and I'm currently working with Aaron Healy at Built for Zero to get our program up and running with that. An initiative that we started is No Wrong Door. The goal of No Wrong Door is to create a unified system. So no matter where a person comes into the system, they get the same screening and they get the same referrals. This starts with our roundtable groups. Each of our roundtable members have received intake forms and instructions on how to use them. They will each receive the same service tree that I'm in the process of finalizing so that we can be consistent and so no one falls through the cracks. Tied with this is another initiative called Homeward Bound. This is where we help people who got stranded in Shawnee get back home. This keeps them from becoming part of our homeless system and sends them back to where they have resources and support. Our Homeless Resource Center. You could call it a day center or a day shelter. I like Resource Center. The purpose of it is twofold. First, it's to draw people from the downtown business district. Second is to be able to meet those needs that they have in an effective way. This will allow us to return the downtown business district to its intended purposes and allow for a vibrant business district. As far as the individuals that are experiencing homelessness, this gives them a place to go, a place where there are bathrooms, a place where there's AC or heat, a place where they're out of the elements. In addition, they'll be able to access email, search for jobs, apply for jobs, and just the social aspect of being able to be together. We're aiming to bring in organizations that can help meet those needs and offer resources as well. We're finalizing an agreement with the Shawnee Rescue Mission for use of their facility. Expected opening date is, fingers crossed, June 6th. We'll see. We're going to be opening 3 days a week initially. And as we have more resources and more staff and we've worked out the kinks, we're going to be able to start expanding and offering more days and more services. It's going to be staffed by a minimum of 2 people, comprised of my interns and my volunteers. Transitional and permanent housing. You can't fight homelessness if you don't talk about housing. So we are addressing some of these housing issues. First off is temporary housing. We need a place where people can be safe and secure, where their belongings can be safe and secure. This allows them to not just focus on mere survival, so now they can focus on things like jobs and healthcare and education and sobriety. We're looking at codes, looking at other cities that have instituted transitional housing and how they went about doing it. What did they do with their codes to make it happen? And finally, we're also investigating how to fill holes in permanent housing so that we can get people housed. Homeless program staffing, I'm really excited. We just hired 3 interns that will be with me until August 31st. They have a 3-pronged job description. One is to staff the resource center. The second is to do street outreach. And the third is to learn the administrative aspects of running a homeless program. We also have a volunteer program where people have been vetted and they can sign up for any area that they're interested in. They'll receive training in that specific area. Speaking of training, we've created a comprehensive training program that's comprised of in-person, online, and hands-on training. Everyone so far has completed Homelessness 101 and situational awareness courses. It's been reviewed and approved by several departments, including the police chief. This training program allows them to get certificates from organizations such as FEMA. Our ESG grant, we're currently getting ready to go into monitoring on our ESG grant May 23rd through the 27th. The purpose of this is to make sure that we are compliant with all the aspects of the grant, that we are compliant with Oklahoma Department of Commerce, and that we are compliant with HUD. In addition, we are working with COCA to maintain their compliance as well. And also we're beginning to look up additional funding sources and other grants to keep our program going and expand it. Finally, our summer 2022 plans. The focus will be fleshing out and expanding our program, identifying and filling holes in our system, and continuing to work to build a cohesive response to homelessness. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have a few, but I'm going to see if anybody else does.
What is the name of your Facebook page? What's the name of the Facebook page where people can get the information?
It's the unofficial one, so it's under my name, Erica Genty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a new one soon.
No, yeah, we don't have. It's not posting on the city right now. It's posting on just my personal Erica Genty.
Okay.
A couple of questions. One, I was really glad to hear you're still working with Erin Healy. 'Cause
Absolutely.
she's just a wealth of information.
Absolutely.
So I'm so glad you guys are working together. The roundtables that you're having, are
Yes, sir.
those to educate those agencies, or is that where you're sharing your by name list information and then trying
Yes.
to fill needs?
All of it.
Okay.
Our first one, we came together and we talked about collaboration. We talked about
Right.
the idea of letting go of our little kingdoms and being able to be a cohesive response.
Right.
Our second one, we really educated about homelessness.
Mhm.
We educated about homelessness in the city, homelessness in the state, homelessness in our nation. Starting with our next one is when we're going to be starting those by name lists, where we will be bringing a minimum of 10 individual clients up and going through their files, talking about what their needs are, and finding ways to solve those problems.
Right. And when you keep saying their needs, and I just want to clarify that. I know the answer, but I want to clarify it so that anybody listening, that there's no doubt. I mean, when you're talking about their needs, I mean, ultimately what it is how do we get these people housed? And there's so many things that may be an obstacle to that. And with all these groups sitting together, you know, people although they can attack that from a different direction, and ultimately what we want to do is get people off the street, so.
Absolutely, that's our goal. It's a very complex issue, but for example, we can bring someone up and say, okay, this guy needs a job, but in order to get a job, he needs ID. In order to get ID, he needs an address.
Right.
And so as a group, we can come together and somebody can take this on, they can take this on, they can take this on. Now he has a job.
Right.
Now we can move on to the next step that he has. It may be something like, I've had several people that have needed surgery. What do you do when you need surgery and you have nowhere to recuperate? So we have worked with organizations to be able to provide a place for recuperation after surgery so that they can go back to work, because that's the only thing in the way.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I just think this approach makes so much more sense. I mean, coordinating efforts and all these different groups that we already have here in town, there's no reason for us to invent another one when we have them all here. It's just getting everybody out of their silos that we all, as humans, that's how we end up working, and getting them together and working together as a team, I think makes so much more sense. So
Absolutely, and that's my job, is
Yep.
just to bring all these organizations together.
yeah, very good. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the update. All righty, next one. Chief Wilson. How are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Okay. So I just want to give you a quick briefing on some of the items that we are going to implement and some of the items we already implemented in reference to some of the concerns out at the lake area. And so we have already increased the patrols out there, and we're doing that with our shift officers currently on duty. And I've already heard back a lot of positive feedback from the lake residents that they've seen them out there on the land and around the residential areas. So we will continue to keep an increased presence of the marked police units, and each shift will patrol the lake as they do all other areas of the city limits. And we've also utilized the motor traffic unit. They'll be operating in the lake area for traffic enforcement out there. So we'll use some of the specialized units out there for increased visibility too. Now our peak time for the water and the parks out there has always been from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And we will actually move 3 officers out there full-time, and they will be assigned to the lake full-time. They'll focus on the water, which is a little different from what we were doing. They were going out there and they might get out on the water or they'd get busy with the parks. But what we're going to do is shuffle that. Those 3 officers will spend the majority of their time on the water. They'll operate the police boat and also a wave runner from Yamaha as part of the Yamaha Law Enforcement Loan Program that is operated nationwide. So we'll go ahead, and if we have a call on the land, we'll utilize our district units, and that way we'll still have the presence on the water, but we'll also have people to respond or out there patrolling on the land. Minor things sometimes can make a big difference, and we several years ago we've gone through a few police boats, and our last one was a pontoon boat like this, but it had a lot of police markings on it. It was destroyed by one of the tornadoes, if anybody remembers that, when the building got destroyed out there. So we purchased a new boat at the time, what we could afford with the insurance money, and it was actually a maroon gray boat we've been using out there on the water. They have been patrolling out there, but would it be highly visible as a police boat up to this point? Probably not. So we needed to do some upgrades. So what we have here is a picture of the mock-up that we did with our graphic designer that does our cars. And it'll show you how we will make the boat actually more visible on the water. And I know some of that kind of looks European at the back, or maybe supporting Ukraine, I don't know, but that is what they suggest for high visibility on the water. So that is what we're going with, and it's actually, the boat went today
to start having those graphics applied to it, so it would be ready for this first holiday weekend. We've also got a picture of a flag that was designed that we plan on flying not only on the boat, but also temporarily on the back of the wave runner. So when the wave runner's out there, they will also see that as a police vehicle and not just think it's somebody else out there on a wave runner.
Okay.
So, you know, our goal is while they're on the water to have a lot higher visibility. These are police officers out there patrolling the water. This is somebody you can go to if you need help. So we're currently working with the city manager's office and Public Works to plan and build a secure boat slip for the police boat. This will allow for a quicker response to water emergencies and enforcement, and the officers will continue to operate out of the office provided in the Public Works building located by the main boat ramp. Our goal is to better serve the Shawnee Lake residents and address the policing concerns presented by the Lake Advisory Board. So, like I said, basically if we can get something out there, it's on the water, we're not pulling it out of storage, towing it in down the ramp, we'll have quicker access to respond by water. The other thing, I spoke actually this weekend with the city manager, and we will start this week with a public service campaign, so to speak, about the rules of the lake. We want to educate everybody early. We had a very busy weekend out there this weekend. There was a lot of people at the parks already. And we don't want to come out and immediately be hard-handed and say, you know, we're writing you a ticket for this, this, and this. So we wanted to do a public information educational campaign. We'll start this week with rules such as, like at the parks, even parking. Our goal is, and I want to make that known at this meeting, is when we have those parks open, we love having all those people out there, but we have to leave those roadways open, and the purpose of that is for emergency vehicles. If we have an emergency out there, we need to be able to get police vehicles, fire vehicles, or ambulances around those parks to handle the emergency. And we had some issues with that this weekend that we're working on, so we want to basically educate the public on that. And then other things like the water rules when you're out there on the boat, you know, things on the beach, whether it be not having glass containers, things like that. So you will see a public campaign start this week as in reference to the rules of the lake that hopefully will keep things a little more orderly out there and take care of things. But I'll answer any questions if you have any.
I've got questions for Chief. You must have explained it well. Thank you, sir. All righty. Item 16, new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners' comments. I don't remember which side we ended up. Minnie, you want to go first?
I want to compliment the city manager and her staff for having our preliminary budget presented to us 6 or 7 weeks prior to the beginning of the new fiscal year. That will give us a lot of time to look at it and tweak it and things like that. And I think that that's my main thing. I could go ahead and talk about a lot of other stuff, but I think others will be discussing those.
Yeah, the budget come together, you know, considerably earlier than it normally has, so this gives us plenty of time to critique it. Sales tax is trending back good. On another note, the gentleman that left earlier on the development out at Shawnee Lake, he is protected by planning on water runoff. You know, they'll have to have some kind of water retention. DEQ will be involved in sewer, so you know that really is much of an issue until it's planned. Homeless, you know, that's a hard topic. You know, it's we appreciate, Erica, what you do. I mean, it's kind of a no-win situation. I mean, at least sometimes when you have somebody that does come out of it, gets a job, moves on to a house, you know, it's pretty rewarding, I'm sure, on your end, but it's that's a hard one. That's about all I got.
I want to again thank staff on the budget, getting it to us and the public this early, so there's plenty of time for discussion is very good. Very nice, and the way the department heads and everyone has already made their presentations and worked some of the meetings, the non-quorum meetings that we've had in advance, letting us know how that went, that so many people were involved. That's good to see, so it's going to make for a good budget.
Also, thank you to staff, and I would encourage everyone that would like to look at some of the budget proposals to go on our city website, because there's an outline there that's pretty easy to read through, and charts and graphs that we saw today. You have access to that online, and time to form questions before the budget is approved. I was really impressed with Erica, your presentation. Some of the efforts to just have a cohesive plan in the community, because I think we have a lot of people doing a lot of great things throughout the community, but I was very encouraged. I mean, some of the simple things like having bathrooms and shower facilities are going to be life-changing to some of those people, and the coordinated efforts to push all of those things through in a systematic way, and usually we're just kind of talking in circles and no one's spearheading things yet. So I appreciate all the people working on that project a lot, especially as a business owner in downtown. And I've gotten to know several of the people that are experiencing homelessness, and I know that they will benefit from those services for sure. Thank you to Chief for the update at the lake. You've already made a lot of great improvements, and I know that you took the lake committee's request to heart. And I saw the post. Mark Yearwood was working on that today. I saw it and got excited because we'll actually have a marked boat out there, so that's great. That's about all I have today.
Four quick things. First, congratulations again to the students and staff at Gordon Cooper. Good to see Mr. Hoffmeyer and all the amazing accomplishments the kids have made, and it's really cool to see that level of innovation and hopefully the leaders of our community in the future. I'm very excited about the budget. Several have said some great things about it, and having the time to look over it. Certainly something of that importance shouldn't be rushed, and so to have this time to really dig into it. Three things I drew out. Thank you to the city manager and her staff. I've kind of campaigned a lot internally for the 2% reserve contingency, which I believe she has confirmed to me is the first time in our community's history we'll have that. And we've codified it and made it an important part. The 14% reserves, which allow us to pivot if we have some kind of awful event. And then you heard her say it several times in her presentation, but recurring revenues, and the need to find those recurring revenues. We probably say it, get tired of hearing us saying it, but shop local, all those things that drive the recurring revenues are what us allow to put money into the budget that helps transform our community. So we'll all dig into it more. I encourage everybody to go on the OpenGov site and give it a look. But the pillars of stability that we're placing in it are good for our community. And so excited to see that. The lake, Chief, thanks so much. I've driven out there several times already, and it's definitely, you can see the presence increasing. But then I've said it a lot, and getting the force on the water in a recognizable way, I think will make a big difference. And to be able to have it done by the busy season, I appreciate all the effort that went into that's going in to make that happen. And even you talked about your public service campaign. I appreciate the attitude and the approach you do to our citizens, because we haven't been out there as much as we should. So the education component will be important as we kind of re-educate. So thanks for all your work. Appreciate that. And Quickly, we know we have the public meetings coming up on the depot. I think these administrative reports that the city manager has implemented have been an amazing wealth for the community to hear kind of what we hear when we ask questions as issues arise. And so I'm requesting, and she knows this is coming, that she do an administrative report on the depot and the city's involvement in the history and the money side and all of it, so that we kind of level set ahead of the community meetings and everyone kind of knows the particulars, rather than maybe we all start from a level set of facts rather than maybe not all understanding all the perspectives, and it's a complicated issue. So I'm requesting we place that on the next agenda so that we can have it ahead of the meetings. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir. All righty. Yeah, I want to chime in on the budget. Getting it early like this is really nice. Seems like we've done, a separate budget hearing in the past, and I'm glad we're not doing that we're doing it just part of the regular meeting, so that hopefully more people will know when that is and can be here to see that and hear all of it. And I just think, that's something I hope lots and lots of people come on June 6th so they can hear all that about the budget. But getting that early and all the hard work that was done on that is very much appreciated. I want to thank also for the administrative reports that we've received tonight. Thank you, Chief, for all the update that you did, and Erica and everything you guys are doing. I mean, homelessness is a very, very tough situation. A lot of people probably wouldn't have guessed that we'd have, I think our number was 860 when we did our point-in-time count. That's a lot of folks at a lot of different locations. It's a big problem, and I'm just so happy that we have chosen to take a very data-driven, coordinated, organized approach to attacking this issue rather than playing whack-a-mole like we did for 100 years. So I think the results are going to be so much better. So I'm very, very encouraged by what I'm hearing. I know I've heard very good things about the porta potties. I'm sure our downtown businesses would much rather have those facilities for folks to use than, what was going on. So that's been a big help, and I've heard a lot of good things about that, and I'm sure the showers are going to be equally as effective. So thank you very much for the administrative reports. There was one question early kind of related to homelessness, and I was talking about feeding in the park. The city does not feed in the park. There may be churches or someone that does that, but we don't. So, the question should be passed to the churches that are doing that. So the city does not feed in the park. So hopefully, as we get some of the other items that you're working on done, those activities can be moved to that location. So anyway, that's probably all I've got. So we will move on to the Airport Authority. Item 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda. Does anybody want to make a motion on that?
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. We have, someone's lost a phone, it sounds like. Motion to approve in a second on item 1. We'll call the question. And that motion passes 6-0. Any new business?
No new business.
Thank you, ma'am. We are adjourned, and we'll move on to the Airport Authority. Municipal Authority. Let's see. Item 1 is consider approval of consent agenda. Anybody got anything there? Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 1. We will call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 2 is new business.
No new business.
Thank you, ma'am. We are adjourned. It's time to go home.